So okay, so everybody
Yeah.
that's watching, I don't really recommend. We just do what your coach says.
Keep in mind, Nasser's no
Keep it,
longer
like-
with us.
Right,
So,
right. So
and none of the
yeah.
advice that he gave me is necessarily top shelf. But I'm just saying.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
See you, Ron.
What's
All
up?
these crazy guys. Here we go. Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us, big guy. This is really awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time out.
Yeah, no, I like to do this stuff when I can. It's apparently it's going to catch on. They say everyone just starts doing these podcasts. It's going to be a thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like it's getting popular. Everyone's just jumping on the train. Thankfully,
Is my camera all right? Because I got a good camera here, but it looks a little funny on my shot.
it looks good on my end.
Okay,
Yeah,
That
let's
looks
go
good.
with that.
it looks.
Okay.
Devin just keeps playing with himself.
Yeah.
Devin's
I
always
agree.
playing with himself.
As long as it's off camera, just keep it below camera.
Yeah. Keep it under the.
Well,
yeah.
not-
I'm trying to get the camera.
Not one of us has any pants on, so
Yeah, there you go.
we're just freeballing it here.
You guys are true podcasters already.
No, right?
This is what matters. I'm actually just
Yeah.
in like a barn.
Yeah, it's true. Awesome, man. No, again, yeah. Thanks for coming on. This is fantastic. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
And
No worries.
yeah, we'll go through the whole.
I am a
introduction.
talker apparently, so
That's
Yeah.
what we like.
You'll keep us entertained then.
Yeah,
Wow.
hopefully we'll do some of it.
expectations need to be
Expectations.
a little bit
If
on a
people are
Sunday
watching,
afternoon.
if people are watching this already, their expectations are very low. So
Oh, okay, good. I'm right
Don't
with
worry
my
about
people.
it.
Not because you're on.
No.
yeah,
Well, if
I
they
think
watch
you're-
my show, they know it's not a far cry. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You're raising the bar a little bit here.
We bring that level ourselves. You're the highlight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. All right, let's get right into this. So I'm going to take care of some of the housekeeping stuff first. And just want to remind everyone to like, share, subscribe, and there we go. Jamie did it.
Hit that bell button.
There you go.
All right.
Ding, ding,
So
ding,
yeah,
ding.
we just want to make sure to do the notification thing, right? It just helps us out, and it helps you guys find out when we drop the new episodes. You know, like YouTube doesn't really like us sometimes. You know, it kind of suppresses our algorithm, kind of like PEDs or PEMs suppress the natural testosterone. It just kind of, you got to hit the subscribe button to, give it back. You got to push it back. You got to raise that level a little bit.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification button. Also, I just want to put it out there that this podcast is not sponsored by Mutant, but Ron and I are. So, so I got to put it out.
You always got to
But
have some branding. People always expect me to have something on that has a logo.
I know,
so.
right? So if you want the hat or this sweater, go to iammutant.ca and use Joshua T20, or I guess you could use Big Ron 20. So we both
You
would
could.
appreciate
You
it.
don't have to. It's not my show. You don't have to use my code.
All right. But you know what, man? I got to put it out there. You deserve it. You put in the work too. So thanks.
Appreciate that.
You're one of the big boys for
man. That was a big
Mutant
spiel.
now, aren't you, Ron?
Sorry?
You're way up there in the company now, aren't you? For Mutant?
Well, I've just been with them for a long time. A lot of people are kind of
Okay.
confused as to what I've done with Mutant, but I've kind of done a bit of everything. Like I started I got sponsored in 2011, and they were just looking for a national level super heavyweight. That they had some ideas that they were going to do like some YouTube content, and they wanted someone who was, capable of being personable, I guess. And I met at the time as a marketing director, Ryan Keller, who's been in the industry forever. He's worked for everybody. He's really great. And at the time he was working for Mutant, and he chatted me up at a show, and we just got talking, and then he messaged me a contract and got signed to Mutant. And at the time he had this kind of vision of what he wanted to do with YouTube and that sort of stuff. Remember 2011, Instagram hadn't come out yet.
Yeah.
So we were just Facebooking and YouTubing really. And I think Antoine was like the biggest guy in bodybuilding at the time, because he had his channel was going, and like Antoine's channel was like bigger than everybody's. And so Ryan had this idea of doing video, you know, just being a little bit more present online, because a lot of companies weren't really doing that yet. Like it hadn't really started like going crazy, you know? And so then I got on the Mutant team, and then shortly after they brought Rich Piana, and then, you know, the YouTube videos that they filmed with him hit, and then everything just went crazy. And anyways, I was with Mutant, you know, I was with it for a long time. And I said to Ryan at one point, I said, hey, I think 2015 is going to be my last attempt at turning pro. And if I don't get it, then I'm probably going to call it a day, because I was 39.
Yeah.
And he said, well, why don't you move out to Vancouver? Because I lived in Edmonton. And he said, why don't you move out here and we'll create a position in marketing. And then when it's time for you to, like, you know, finish competing, you can just stay with the company and work in marketing. So I did that. I moved to Vancouver, took the job, started working every day in the office, got my pro card that year. And then we opened the gym, and then I tore my quad.
Yeah.
I tore my quad, and then we opened the gym. And I stayed at Mutant for about 4.5 years. And then the gym was getting pretty busy, you know, and I had to devote more time to the gym as a business. So I just had a chat with him. I was like, hey, you know, I actually walked into Ryan's office and I said, I've got an idea. And he's like, what? And I go, well, I'm going to leave, but you're going to keep paying me.
That's a
Great idea.
I love that.
Yeah.
And he goes, whoa, okay. He kind of laughed. He goes, I knew this was coming. And I said, well, I gotta leave my job here, man. I gotta go do the gym full time. I gotta like take the leap, you know, if we want to make the gym work, we're all going to put in a bit more time. And so since I was in charge of the contracts, I drew up my own athlete contract.
Oh, man.
and I signed myself back to a contract, and I left my salary job.
So
that was 2019. I left my job at Mutant and went back on an endorsement deal. Okay. And so I've been on the endorsement. So I don't actually work for Mutant. Like a lot of people think
so you're still like a Mutant athlete. Like a sponsor,
yeah. And then
that's kind of it.
Yeah. And I talk very closely with Jim, and like,
for sure,
me and Jim do a lot of chatting, and, you know, I know the management, our department, and, you know, I'm involved with all those guys all the time. So, you know, I'm still involved in like what Mutant's doing. I'm kind of like doing like opinion wise and contributing wise, I'm doing a lot of the stuff I used to do at my old job, you know, like, so it's still fun, you know. And then obviously the Mutant on a Mission series, I handle that myself, pretty much myself. Like I book the trips, I pick the gyms, I get the travel agent for Mutant to, you know, get me all my flights and hotels, and I set everything up and organize everything. And then I just have the episodes delivered to Mutant from the, you know, the guys that we use,
right.
the select crew of people that we use to film episodes around the world. They edit the episodes and they send them in completed. Obviously the art department's in touch with them for, like, you know, making sure that, you know, the graphics for the names and everything for that particular episode are all proper, but they're essentially delivered finished. So Mutant doesn't really have to do much to make Mutant on a Mission at all. I pretty much get
so
that
cool.
handled. You know, like
they probably love that. That's absolutely, like, that's one of their people love that show, and everyone
it's been crazy. You know, it's really cool. I like producing it too. You know, like, you know, I just tell George, like, I got 3 episodes. I'll have 3 new episodes to you in August, and he's like, awesome, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then the episodes just show up in August, and they got their 3 more episodes, and I just make sure there's 3 more before those run out. You know. And we just kind of keep it rolling. And I just time it with all the trips too, you know, because obviously the budget, it has to be a concern. You know, if we're already going to England for an expo, I might as well shoot a couple episodes.
Go up to Dino's gym and...
Yeah, or whatever. Like I just went to Ultraflex, you know, like that sort of stuff. So you got to kind of be smart and take advantage of trips, you know.
Yeah. That's really cool, man. Like there's so much stuff there that we had, like, you pretty much answered a lot of questions already, but
Yeah.
so, no, that's great.
I actually watched you turn pro in 2015 Halifax, Ron. We were just talking
Oh, it
about
was
that before you came
Edmonton.
on.
It was Edmonton, 2015 Edmonton.
It wasn't Halifax?
No, it was Edmonton, 2015 Edmonton. Yeah, yeah.
Was it?
You might have been at so many shows. Yeah, it was Edmonton. Yeah, it's crazy.
I seen you. Yeah, I did see you get your pro card though. In 2015,
Yeah. It was funny. It's funny. I hardly remember that day, to be honest, because it was kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
But my main memory of that show is that the junior class, top 3 at the juniors that year at the nationals, was Cody Drobot in 3rd, Chris Bumstead in 2nd, and Regan Grimes in 1st. That was the
Wow.
top 3 in the junior class.
Oh man,
How's that?
what a
For a bunch of
line.
ass kickers. And then
That's nuts.
Regan and Bumstead were both in the top 5 in the men's heavyweight.
Wow.
And they were just kids.
They were just-
so it was like,
Yeah,
it was a reflection of what was to come, obviously.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, back then Regan just was a
you
little
were
more
super
filled
heavy.
out than Bumstead was. You know, Bumstead's taller. So in the junior class, Regan had a little bit more of a,
Just
you know,
Just
Thicker
a
a little
little
bit more.
more size, a little more thicker.
Yeah, I remember that was the day I'd already seen Bumstead, but that was the day like I talked to him. I went up to him backstage and I was like, "Dude," I said, "You are." I remember saying to him, "You are sitting on everything.
Really?
Like you have
So
everything. Like,
you
you're
seen
sitting
it.
on everything."
You seen it back then. You called it pretty much.
Yeah, I mean the whole class was dumb. I mean it was, you know, they were all so good, right? But I just remember Bumstead had this thing about him. I'm like, "Oh, he's got something that is gonna be crazy." And then, like within, I think it was the very next year, he turned pro at the North Americans as a bodybuilder.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So this podcast called Bodybuilders Amateur Hour. This is the bar talk one where we just kind of all get around and shoot the shit and stuff. So we have 2. We have the amateur hour, which is more of a Q&A, like a personal kind of thing. And this one is just the guys sitting around where you're invited to hang out at the bar. So we just kind of just shoot the shit.
I worked in the bar industry for 16 years, so I know it well.
So, and then we like to just talk about, again, kind of our amateur careers and coming up. And one of my first questions, I guess, man, is like, I always like to go back to the very beginning and where you decided that you think you had what it took to step on stage. Do you remember that? You're like, like I might be good at this, or like, shit, I'm picking up some weights and I'm growing. Something's happening here.
Yeah, I don't remember ever having like a thought that I was ever gonna like, oh, I'm good at this. I just remember like things were happening. Like I don't ever remember a moment where I thought I was better at it than anybody else. I just knew that I was definitely trying harder than most of the other people around me,
Right.
especially guys my age when I was a kid. Like I was like nuts. Like I was, you know, I was guzzling protein shakes at 10-minute break in grade 10 and eating turkey sandwiches at lunch hour. And then another shake at 10-minute break. And then I would plow like a chocolate milk and a big cookie. And I'd go train till I, just train my nuts off, you know. And I grew up on a farm. So my mom was cooking like roast beef dinner every single night. Like I grew up spoiled with food. Like I wasn't spoiled as a kid, you know, I wasn't like a spoiled kid, but we grew up with like unlimited food, absolutely unlimited roast beef dinner every night, eggs and pancakes every morning for breakfast. Mom, like professional housewife, dad was a farmer. Like I grew up in that type of environment. So, you know, deep freeze full of meat, full of ice cream, full of milk, like no shortage, eat a box of cereal a day. Like I really had it when it wasn't until I got like older and I would like meet other kids and I'd think, oh, these kids like don't really have a lot of like, you know, you meet some kids oh, they don't really have a lot of food in their house. Like you go, there's nothing to eat. And like, oh shit, I'm pretty lucky. And I think that was like, that was obviously like a big part of why I put on like 100 pounds in high school.
That's what I was going to ask.
Well,
You must have grew fast.
Yeah, I was, you're growing anyways, but you're just hitting the hormone ramp. You know, you got
Man.
that on ramp of test and GH just cranking, and you're just shoveling in boxes of Cheerios and big steaks and lifting
God.
heavy.
And
And I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah.
What do you expect's
Right?
going to happen, right?
God,
It's gotta
thank God
happen. It's
you're.
gotta happen.
Thank goodness you're working out, man, or you'd be going the complete opposite
yeah.
way. Holy shit.
Oh yeah. And also too, like I also grew up, like I had an old school dad, you know, my dad's old school and stuff. So they would like tell me, like, clean your plate. If we're going to go to the gym and lift weights, you better finish your food. Like, you know, like that sort of thing. It was one of those types of things. So I was never discouraged. My folks were like happy I was into stuff and I wasn't like, you know, getting into shit, getting into trouble, drinking and doing like, the gym raised me, you know, my BMX bike raised me. My BMX bike raised me in junior high, and then the gym took over in high school. And my parents really didn't have to do much. They just kind of like, well, you're not in trouble, you know, just keep feeding them. Like, this stays out of trouble, you know? So it was kind of, I was the last kid, right? So the parents are just kind of trying to not
just like, just hold on. Just a little bit.
They're fucking tired by now.
They're tired. So I remember my dad saying to me specifically, it's like, listen, don't get arrested and graduate high school. Like that was where the bar was for me.
That was the bar.
Like,
that was the goal.
Other than that, you're good and golden.
Yeah. See, the first kid became a doctor. So they already had their, they had their slam dunk. So they're like, can mail in the fourth kid, you know? I just let them lift
We're good
weights.
now.
Just let him go.
Yeah, everyone thinks we're good parents. We can let this one go.
Buy him a bike and let him go.
Yeah.
Speaking of bike, Ron, you're pretty good on that thing too. I've seen a few clips there where you're doing some tricks. And what do you weigh right now? Like that's pretty.
I'm about 240 in the morning, 242 in the morning. So it's like, you know, it's the lightest I've been since 1997. It was the last time I was 240. So it's been a while. But yeah, I got some of my tricks back, and I don't have them all back yet, but I'm learning some of them, and some things came back really like surprisingly quick, and then other things like I haven't got back yet. Like it's just different. You know, I was 175 pounds the last time I rode freestyle, so it's some things definitely come back faster than others, but it's been a lot of fun. And probably that my favorite thing has been, I really like the technical mechanical aspects of, I guess it's almost a crossover, like the obsession you have with like the perfect squat, like putting the tension on your quads and having your form perfect in that. It's also a crossover to flatland. Like if your form and your balance point isn't perfect, that like the trick doesn't work, and you have to like have your body in the right position, and there's like a mechanical element to it, like, and there's, you know, you have to, and then there's this other thing, like, you know, when you get under a heavy bar, you have to be like, you have to be like a little bit
like, you got to be plugged into it, right?
Yeah. And I've done that a million times. Like I've turned that light switch on a million fucking times. Like, you know, all those sets I did, all that. And so now this is like a different challenge, because I actually have to calm myself down. I have to like bring my heart rate down, breathe, and go into the trick and stay relaxed and breathe and not hold my breath and get tight. And you know, when you have a good day on the bike, it's always the day where you're not thinking about anything. It's just flowing. And like I had a session last week where I went out and I pulled like all of my combos in like the first 10 minutes I was out. And then I spent like the rest of the hour working on tricks I can't do yet. And then there's days when you go out and it takes you like an hour to pull all your tricks. And you don't get to work on anything new because you're just
right.
Yeah, you got it. And then you got to solve the problem. You're like, okay, why am I not getting this? And you're like, okay, relax. Like, just like find a better place, get your heart rate down, and then it'll happen. And I mean, you could do this a million ways with a million things, but it's something about kind of controlling your body and controlling your mindset and controlling your emotions, and all that stuff goes into it. So it's been a real interesting challenge that way, because I think about stuff like that. You know, I don't. It's not like it's all like it's all part of everything we do. Anytime we have a goal or set a goal, it comes down to these types of things, and I love it because it's such a simple little reminder of everything. It's a mini little metaphor for you know, challenging yourself with new tasks.
Did you compete? Did you compete with freestyle, or it was just?
I actually did. Yeah, I actually did. I did a couple of contests when I was, I guess I would have been like 13 or 14. I did a couple of contests, and And that was always like super fun because I just entered like the beginner class, you know, and then you stick around and watch the pro riders. I mean, this was back in the 80s when they were like, you know, it was pretty popular, right? Like it's a very small cult fringe thing now, like freestyle. So yeah, I was lucky to kind of get a little taste of that era, and I mean, it was a lot of fun. And I remember just competing just because my friends were going to enter. Like I was like, oh yeah, I'll enter. Like I wasn't scared to get my butt kicked. I think, you know, I think I got second at both of the beginner contests I did, and it was just totally for fun, you know. So it was a very positive. It's a really it's a really great group of guys. Like the guys who flatland now, they're all in their 50s and 40s, and I mean, there's young guys too coming up. But like if you go to like a flatland jam, most of the guys have gray in their beards and they've been riding for 30 years and they're really fucking good. And you're like, oh shit, you know, like it's something you can do. Like it's not, you know, I mean, you're gonna fall and get hurt and stuff, but it's not like ramp riding where you're like you got to retire at 30 because. You know, you got 80 concussions, and it's not like that.
Stuff's
it's
scary,
you know,
man. Yeah.
Some of these guys have flow and style into their 50s. They're awesome riders. So it's just been a lot of fun, man. You know, a little bit of revisiting my youth and, you know, feeling pretty damn young again some days. You know.
Yeah. And give you that chance to, like you say, give that mind clarity and settle in and do something different. And relax.
Yeah. Like, do you guys all have something that you can do for 2 hours where you do not acknowledge your phone whatsoever?
Acknowledge your phone?
Yeah. Like at all.
Like,
it doesn't even cross your mind to check your phone. You don't even think about, like, that's what it is for me. It's like a complete and utter break. Like I don't go over to I don't like stop after 20 minutes and go check my phone to see what's up. I do not ever do that. Yeah. And it's like really nice. It could probably be many other tasks, but that's one of like the main rewards.
There's one
I think everyone should have something,
definitely
right?
Not 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's maybe 15 minutes at the most.
Maybe.
Right.
But like,
I had to learn how to do that. I used to be on it all the time when I was coaching and stuff, but now I can actually learn how to put it away when I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just you got
nice mental break, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You got
nice
it.
mental break.
You got it. And, you know, also there's like a lot of cool stuff now. You know, we're a lot more aware of dopamine and how it motivates us and how, you know, we can get dopamine in good and bad ways, you know. And I just watching some of this stuff, like, you know, a couple of guys that have been on Rogan talking about dopamine and addiction and like how it relates to all that stuff. And one of the things that I always kind of liked was like, I think Andrew Huberman talks about it. He's like, you know, try not to pick easy dopamine things. Like things that you get easy dopamine from are usually the things that aren't as good for you, right? You know,
easier
like drugs.
Easier is usually not better, right?
Easier dopamine is usually not better. And like, watch your easy dopamine intake. He's not saying to not have any, but just like be mindful of it. And it's funny what brain chemistry, what happens when you do something that, you know, focuses you like that, and you have to work at, and then you get this intense reward when you know do something silly that means nothing to anybody else, but for some strange reason you find it rewarding that you pulled a trick, you know. And you know, I come home in such a great mood. Like my girlfriend's like, oh my god, like you come home from these rides and you can be in such a great mood, you know. So it's great.
And it's really interesting too, because I think all of us started training in the gym before social media. We all started competing before like social media was a thing. And now we've become so accustomed to filming everything, to checking the phones in between sets, or like, and it is still, I don't know. I get angry at myself sometimes when I pick up my phone and I'm like, what am I doing? What? And I just like,
well, you pick up your phone and change the music, and there you're on to the next thing.
5 seconds later,
right? You accidentally open your Instagram.
Ah, man.
I'm pretty good. I almost always put my phone on airplane when I train. I almost always put it on airplane mode. I'm kind of forced to, because the gym uses my Spotify. So if I try to use my Spotify, it'll steal it from the gym, and then they lose the music. So I'll put it on airplane and I'll play it, because I have like my workout music is like saved, right?
Yeah.
So I'll airplane mode my phone a lot. But the odd time I won't airplane it because like maybe I'm expecting like a call that's related to something really important. Like, so, you know, like I think I took a phone call in the middle of my workout like once last month. And my training partner is totally cool because he knows like we're running the gym. Like, you know, if I'm waiting for something, I'll tell him like, hey, I might get a call this workout. And he's like, okay, you know, and then he knows. But other than that, I never use it.
Nice. Perfect.
I'm going to jump into some, I don't want to keep you too long, so we'll just jump into some questions if that's cool with you, man.
Yeah, I can fire away.
Well, awesome. Dale, he wants to know, how did you diet when you came out of a show? Like, what is your reverse diet like? I assume that means. And did you do a lot of cheat meals when you personally are doing shows and competing?
So cheat meals were always at least used a little bit. I think like I remember specifically one show that I won the overall at the Albertas in 99. And I remember I dieted for 15 weeks and I had 2 cheat days. Really high days, really high, like crazy high clean carbs, but then 1 cheat meal. I remember that was like a strategy that my buddy used, and I did that twice. And then there were years where I worked with, you know, like I worked with Scott Abel for several years. He helped me win nationals in 07. And I had a cheat meal like every single weekend, the whole diet.
Yeah, cool.
And I came in my best ever condition that the couple times I worked with him at the time. So, but then you know, it's all the same. Like the years I had the cheat meals, the calories were lower during the week. So you're just more hungry. Yeah. So and then the years you don't use the cheat meals, you got more food. So you're like, I don't really feel like I need a cheat meal as bad. Like it's kind of like, and you know, in the years that you get to eat a lot, like, you know, I remember one year Chris Aceto was like, dude, send me your diet again. And I sent it to him. He's like, it doesn't make sense. This is so much food. And I was like, I know. I remember he told me the only guy that he had that ever ate more than me one year was Jay Cutler. And
that's pretty impressive.
I don't know why I ate so much food that year. And Chris just shrugged. He's like, I don't know. It doesn't always make sense. But I just required an enormous amount of food. And I was 260.
Usually when you're
stage, yeah.
260-ish? Yeah. You're tall. You're like 6'1"-ish, right? Around there?
6 foot half inch. Yeah. So just over 6 foot. But yeah, I was 260 that year. And I remember just like getting leaner and leaner and lighter and lighter. And my weight was dropping. And like, I remember him just being like, man, you're on so much food. But I was still starving. That's the thing. Yeah. Like you're always going to be starving. Like it doesn't matter. Like,
a lot of people will look at you like,
you're always hungry.
Yeah. A lot of people will look at us and like, oh, you're so lucky you get to eat so much food. You're like, no, I'm still miserable. It still sucks. Yeah. Right. I hear. Yeah. I get that a lot.
Looks like a lot, but fucking ain't nothing.
Yeah. You eat still so much, Josh. Like your calories are really high, Josh. But your metabolism is so fast that you're still hungry.
Josh does have a crazy burn on him for sure. So
yeah, we're up to 6 cups of rice a day right now.
Yeah, we just had it yesterday, right?
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
It gets worse from there.
Oh, I know. I'm still hungry. But
yeah. Do 3 cups a meal for a while. See how you feel.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, it's not looking forward to that day.
Yeah.
Ron, what was your heaviest in the off season?
My heaviest weight ever was 330. I was actually 333 one morning.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the year I worked with Chad Nichols. Well, I mean, at the time I was like, I thought, oh man, I'm fucking huge. This is awesome, you know? But I mean, I remember thinking I remember being 330, and I remember that was the first time that I started to feel a little bit scared about whether this was a good idea, because it was all fun and games. It was all fun and games to 300. It was all fun and games even to 320 because I was in my 20s, right? Yeah. And then it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I got like heavier than that, you know? And I remember being like, this isn't a good idea. You know what I mean? And
you didn't feel good?
No, I remember joking to my friends that the only 2 things I could do is lift weights and lean on a shopping cart.
Lean on a shopping right.
You know, like just going and walking around Costco for like, you know how Costco's not a big deal for bodybuilders. We go straight to the chicken. We go straight to the freezer. We go straight to the front. It's not like we walk around for 2 hours.
Oh God, no. We have it all mapped out, and you're just boom.
We have it all mapped out. We're in and out in 5 minutes. It's like stopping at Shoppers Drug Mart for like a tube of toothpaste. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And I remember going into Costco and coming out with all my chicken and just being like, fuck.
Yeah,
I bet everyday activities were just crazy hard.
Yeah,
like buckling your seatbelt.
At the time though, you're like, oh, this is all for a purpose, But yeah, I don't miss being that heavy at all.
You weren't riding many bikes then, were you?
Oh God, no.
No, fuck no.
And like, I shouldn't have got that heavy. Like, I got unnecessarily heavy. Chad pushed me up that heavy. Maybe he saw some value in it. He said that pushing body weight to new heights is the only way to truly get bigger. I remember him telling me that over and over and over. He's like, don't worry about how you look. We're going to get you back down. It's the only way to get bigger. You have to touch, like, how Jordan Peters says, touch new weights.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chad was kind of like that on the scale. He's like, you got to get to new body weights, man. You can't just be 310 every single off season and think you're going to make these massive improvements. Like, he's like, we got to go up. You're a big dude. And then, of course, Chad had seen like the biggest of the big. So he wasn't like impressed with my photos or anything. He's like, we got to get you bigger, man. You got to get bigger.
Wild.
Like, okay.
That's scary.
Yeah. So
Are
just,
Are Chad's protocols as crazy as everyone says, or?
No, like the food was the most, like when I showed Dusty what Chad did with me, and the thing that he went was like, oh, that's a lot of food. Like, yeah. The drugs were like up there, but they weren't crazy. And I remember I did eliminate a few items. Like I remember calling him going, hey, I can't afford to do the growth.
Like the growth or whatever, that much.
And he's like, hey man, no problem. That's an item that's like, cost prohibitive. So, what do you think you can do? And I was like, well, maybe I can do like a little bit of this. And he's like, okay. And then I was like, there was one oral in there, I think. And I was like, I don't really want to take that. And he's like, that's no problem. Just drop that out. And he didn't care. He's like, okay.
Well, that's a really good call. Glad he doesn't.
Yeah. So, but it wasn't like nuts. I think the test on the paper, he had it up to 1,500 in like the peak of the off season. And I mean, at the time I'd already done 12 a few times. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll try it. But that was the only one time I ever went that high.
Oh, yeah. That probably wouldn't feel great either.
I went that high one time too.
Yeah.
I was up to 1,500. It just got me sick. I didn't stay there very long. 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah, I wasn't there long. Like just a portion of the off season. Yeah.
But
did you ever have bad blood work?
No, I had a couple of things that would go wacky. Like I remember my worst blood work ever was actually right before I started my diet one year. And, like my liver enzyme was off. It was like, 80 instead of 50. And I remember my cholesterol was out of range for the first time. My HDL was low. And my doctor was like, oh, your HDL is low. Like, you got to get that up. And I was like, oh, I'm just about to start my prep. And when I started my diet and started doing cardio, I remember I went back like 6 weeks or 8 weeks later and had my blood work done again, and everything was really good. So like the prep actually cleaned my blood work up a couple times. It was always the off season where something would go like out of whack, and then diet time would almost clean it up.
Would that be because of the food, the heavy food, or
I think and junk food.
Right.
Like I come from like I come from the hey, let's hit Burger King era of bodybuilding, And you're like, oh, my weight's down. I was 315 last week. Now I'm 312. I guess I better order a pizza.
It's like,
And you just got this like all these bullshit like bad fats coming in, and it's not like you're eating steak and rice and every meal. Like there's a lot of junk food when you get really big, especially like in my era, because we just used to do that more. There wasn't all this pressure for staying in like, we weren't afraid to like just fucking crash diet, and we weren't afraid to just go hard, and now it's like we know that it's probably smarter to not blow up as much, like we know that now, but back in my day we didn't. That was kind of how everybody did it. Like I remember Nasser. I got to be like exposed to some really good bodybuilders at a young age. Like when I was 21, I was in Australia, and Nasser came there to do like a tour, and the city I was in, one of the cities he was in, and my buddy got to kind of take care of him, like drive him around. So I got to like
That's
hang out with
pretty
Nasser, right?
Oh, man.
So I'm
Very
like
cool.
21 years old,
You're like
22, whatever. And I'm like hanging out with Nasser. It's 1997.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Like you get second
He's
at
right in
the
the
that
mix.
year.
Yeah, you're just like,
Yeah.
So I'm
Were you,
sitting
like,
in the hotel room with him.
were you,
Like
like,
I'm sitting in the
awestruck this
hotel
whole
room, and I'm
time?
trying not to fanboy too much, but
Right,
he was just
right.
so cool. He's just
Well,
talking
that-
to everyone like we're normal, right? And I go,
that was like
"Nasser,"
me
I
and
go,
you going to breakfast in Columbus. I was like, okay,
Right.
gotta bring it down. Gotta bring it down. It's Ron. It's Ron.
Well,
I'm like,
it's just
what
funny
is he
'cause I-
eating? I was like, what is he eating? Okay, I'll order the same thing. All right.
I remember he goes, I remember we went to McDonald's one day, and like the amount of like I remember thinking like, oh, it's McDonald's. You know, I don't really eat a lot of McDonald's. I was more of a Wendy's guy. So I was like, I'll just get like some nuggets and some fries. So I had like some nuggets and fries, I think. Like I didn't
Nice, yeah.
think we were pigging out. And then Nasser came back to the table with his tray. And I was like, oh, like he's going fucking nuts. Like he had
Right.
like 4 big burgers and ice creams, and he ate everything. And I remember thinking like that was like 5,000 calories in one sitting. And like I just saw, I just didn't realize I had a Diet Coke. Like,
It's a fries.
Did you order more food?
no, we were talking and stuff, but I just remember he ate like he ate way more than I expected. Like I didn't think he was going to go crazy at McDonald's. I thought he was going to get a burger.
Oh,
And like
yeah.
he fucking ate like he ate like everything, and he was in like really good shape too.
That's
and
awesome.
like he just ate and ate and ate. And then I remember saying to him, I'm like, oh, because I remember he had 2 ice creams. I remember, and I said, "Oh, you got 2 ice creams?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Of course, I'm huge." Like I remember, like, of course, you
Like,
don't eat
fuck,
one ice
come
cream.
on.
Like you can eat 2. Like,
I have to remember that line.
of course,
Yeah.
I'm huge.
You
Like,
thought one
and
was
then,
for you, did you, Ron?
Sorry.
You thought one of them was for you.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I
wasn't
was gonna
sure.
say.
Like, hey.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Well, there was a bunch of us at the table, but I remember afterwards, a few of us talked about how much food he had. We're like, holy shit, he ate like so much shit, you know? It was just funny. And I remember I asked him, I said, hey, what do you do to dry out for shows? And he goes, oh, like it was annoying. Kind of, well,
Yeah.
not like he was annoyed with me because he was cool, but he laughed. He's like, oh, that's like, everyone thinks there's like a formula. You just carb up till you kind of spill and then you take diuretics.
He's like,
Easy peasy, right?
And I was just like, oh, is that what you do? Like, you don't really have like, you know what I mean?
are we
It's so
gonna
funny.
try that, Devin?
Yeah, just
Yeah, we can try it.
we gonna-
We probably shouldn't for nationals, but we
Okay.
should try that for the flex.
We'll
the
do
week
it for
after.
the flex.
Yeah, we'll do
Okay,
it for the
good.
flex.
like it was just so
That's what we
simple.
plan on doing anyway.
Just eat,
Yeah.
eat till you spill.
That's kind of the way
Yeah.
Yeah.
Briggs and I do it, eh, Briggs?
That
Yeah.
works good.
We go until she spills, and then we take
You're never
diuretics.
It's just
Nope.
funny. You
That's
just
so-
eat till you spill.
I
Like it was.
That's
I
hilarious,
sent I sent Andy some pictures there when I was getting ready for a show, and he said, "What the fuck is this?" He said, "Fuck, why are you Celine?" He said, "I want to see you blow up." Anyway, the next night I fucking ate 1,000 grams of carbs. I spilled. He said, "Perfect, now let's go." The day, 2
Oh, that's
days before
funny.
the show.
Yeah.
That's-
Well, that was
that's
his
the-
advice.
That was the flex.
yeah.
That was the flex I won.
The
Get
Flex
full.
Lewis.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the Flex Lewis Classic. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well done.
I did that.
worked good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that in nationals in 2018 in Toronto because it was a 2-day show, right? So I pigged out for like between shows. So I
Right.
just cleaned it up. I spilled a bit, cleaned it up with some diuretics the next day, and I was good to go for finals. So
And
Yeah,
it
there
won.
you go. There you go.
yeah.
It's nice when it all comes together randomly.
Yeah. Like
Right?
that, like,
Yeah.
Randomly.
Yeah.
Yeah, why are you so
So-
fucking dry?
Throw
So
everything in
okay,
there.
so everybody that's watching, I don't really recommend. We just do what your coach says.
Keep in mind, Nasser's no
Keep it,
longer
like-
with us.
Right, right. So,
and none of the
yeah.
advice that he gave me is necessarily top shelf. But I'm just saying.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
This might work for some, might probably not for others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
I'm
we're
not
just-
afraid.
we're
I'm
just
not
telling-
I'm not afraid to dish out other people's bad advice.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just benefits you and your clients for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I'm not sure how much of the advice actually benefits, but sure, the experience of being able to spend time around guys at that level in that era, and just seeing how they approached it and their mindset and how it was everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like being around guys, like not a lot of 20-year-old bodybuilders get to spend time around like Olympia level guys where like that's all they care about, you know? And that really, like, you know, you kind of you realize a bit more what you're getting into. You're like, oh, like at this level, you know,
Yeah.
like, you know, people who really want to do well, but you know, training is like, you know, maybe the sixth most important thing on their list because they've got, you know, real life and, you know,
Yep.
3 kids and this and that, and that's fine, that's awesome. But you know, you keep in mind, like a lot of those guys, especially in that era, that there was none of anything else going on.
So yeah. So back when you were in like your early 20s, was that it for you, or did you have other plans like for yourself? Like when you were traveling around with Nasser, were you like, this is it? I want to be this guy. I want to be. Like,
I didn't ever. I remember saying a lot when I was young that my actual quote would be, I would tell people, they'd be like, "So do you want to go to like the Olympia?" And I remember saying to people, "I have no delusions that I'm the next Kevin LeBron.
Yeah. Okay.
But I want to be as good as I can possibly get, and I really believe I can turn pro." That was like how I approached it. And looking back now, maybe I set the bar too low. Like maybe I should have set my sights to be Mr. Olympia and I could have accomplished more. You know, they say aim for the moon and you at least get to the sky or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know how to remember the quote, you know, aim for the stars, you get to the moon or whatever. But
That's it. You had it.
but I just remember being realistic about it. Like I remember thinking like, oh, I'm going to do the most I possibly can. I don't really I don't really think I ever like planned to make a living. I never expected to make $1 from bodybuilding ever. Like that wasn't really a thing that I thought. Cause I remember all the guys around me would tell me the odds of you ever making $1 are like almost nothing. So
it's
don't
still
plan
kind of that way for most.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember like the pros would even say that. Like I remember Dorian at a seminar. I saw a seminar with Dorian in 93. I was only 18.
Cool.
And I went and met Dorian. He had just won the second Olympia and he did a guest posing in a seminar. And I was like first one in line. And I remember first thing he told the crowd was like, I remember he said when he did the Night of Champions in 1990 and he got second, Momo Benaziza won that show. So that was Dorian's pro debut. Second. And he said to the crowd, he's like, I had a goal. If I wasn't top 3 in my pro debut, I would retire.
Oh man,
because
imagine
if you're not top 3 in your pro debut, statistically, you will never win a big show. He's like, look at all the guys that come out their pro debut and win, blah, 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 blah. And he just started listing guys. And he's like, otherwise it's a waste of my time. I'll go run my gym and start another business and raise my family and all that sort of stuff. And I remember when he said that, I was like, oh, like, this isn't easy.
Yeah. Right. You know? Yeah. To get there.
Yeah. And he was very clear about how it wasn't worth his time if it wasn't going to pay his bills.
Interesting.
Like, I remember that.
That's really interesting because that's really, I just want to bring this up, like people that are watching and like 99% of the population is not Dorian and not going to be able to win and get to the Olympia. So bringing it back, I think, you know, is it a waste of everybody else's time to compete? Like,
no,
if I'm not going to be getting my pro card and I have no delusions, well, maybe masters, that is a possibility. Sure.
Right.
But should I and other people that may not have superior genetics keep trying to compete?
Yeah, that's well, you know, like, should I bother playing guitar because I'm never going to be able to solo like Jimi Hendrix?
Right.
Like, like that's not, I've never ever thought of anything like that, you know, nothing. That's not how I see anything. So no, man, like I just love bodybuilding. I mean, the training, first of all, if you don't love the training, that's like the number one thing you have to want to do is you have to want to train.
100%. Right. 100%.
Like you have to want to like get in the gym and you have to love pumping weights and you have to love pushing yourself and you have to love thinking about it. You have to love eating your breakfast going, fuck, I got hack squats today. Like, fuck.
You're like,
And
when you wake up thinking about your leg day is the first thing
like
you
you're
wake
driving
up to.
and you're at a red light and you're like, fuck, 7 plates for 10.
Yeah.
7 plates for 10. I got to make this happen today. Like 4 hours from now, I'm going to be getting on that thing. Like, I just remember that was how I lived my life for a long time. And I couldn't have been competitive with those guys. If I wasn't like that. We've all seen people where this is like a lot easier for them. And it goes with everything, like I follow this one kid on Instagram who's been playing guitar for 3 years and like makes me want to just give my guitars away, but like, like he's been playing for 3 years and he's like, his hand can't even wrap around the guitar and he's just like,
Yeah.
So
we all know somebody like that. In our circle over. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And you just think, just because it's not going to come easy, does that mean there's not like a lot of cool stuff in this?
100%.
Like, I don't know.
Like, yeah.
You see it, and when guys like us, even when we go to the beach or somewhere like that, I mean, no, we're not as big as a pro bodybuilder, but I mean, you get a lot of looks. Like you can tell that even us stand out in a crowd 100%.
Oh yeah.
I can't even imagine what would a normal person do if they saw someone like a Ronnie Coleman in his prime walk down the beach. They'd probably be like, what the fuck?
I know. I still have stuff like, I'm 240 pounds at 6 feet tall. So like there's a lot of guys out there. It's a big guy, but just think of the gym world. It's not a big guy in the gym world. How many gyms have a couple of 6 foot 240 guys walking around? Like every single gym. Like it's not uncommon.
It's not too uncommon, but.
And I still run into people, they're like, they don't really know my backstory and stuff. So they'll say like, oh my God, you're fucking huge.
Yeah, right.
And I'm just like, dude, I'm wearing t-shirts that I couldn't wear since 1996. Like I don't feel very big. I'm down to a 2XL tri-blend now. Like I'm getting fit.
Like,
I
always get the comments from the little ladies at a checkout. Or
especially if they see your forearms, right?
Yeah, they're like, oh my goodness. They're like, you must be carrying the bags to the car all the time, aren't you? I'm like, yeah.
Like, no. Funny story. One of the classic Dorian stories is he was doing a seminar in England and he walked in with nothing and his wife walked in carrying a bunch of books.
It's like,
and someone goes, how come you're not carrying that stuff? He's like, I got training. I'm Mr. Olympia.
It's like, I can't be wasting energy.
Fuck.
Yeah. So you came up during the Dorian era and the Ronnie era, Ron.
Yeah.
How did you train? Your training style, was it more like less volume like Dorian, or was it like high volume training like
very much?
Like Ronnie?
Well, funny enough, my first Mr. Olympia was Lee Haney, right? 1990 when I started training, Lee Haney was the champ.
Yeah.
And the first pro I ever met was Lee Labrada in 1991. And
you're pretty fortunate.
Yeah, Lee Labrada came to our gym to do a seminar. He was 6 weeks out of the Olympia. And I remember when he showed up at the gym, like me and my buddy went to the gym to wait for him all day because we knew like he was going to come in to train and we didn't know what time. So we went to the gym. We just camped out at the gym. Cool. We're like, Lee Labrada's coming in today. We're going to meet him. We're going to be here. We're not going to miss him, because we didn't want to just meet him at the seminar with everyone else. We wanted to get like exclusive access to Lee Labrada, So we were sitting at the gym for like a few hours and then the owner showed up and he had Lee Labrada with him. We're like, oh, here we go. And I remember when he walked in, I was like, oh my God, he's so small. I remember being like, he looks so small. And he had he had like a California Crazy Wear sweatshirt on. And he just didn't even look like, I just couldn't believe how small he looked. I was like, oh my God. And then we go, well, we better go watch him work out. So we went down to the gym and we were kind of like hanging around by the front desk and watching him train. And I remember he took his sweatshirt off and he was doing preacher curls. And when he took his sweatshirt off, my entire world of it changed everything. Like I was like, oh, and then all these like light bulbs went off in my head. I was like, oh my God, that's what this is all about. And I remember he took his sweatshirt off and I just was like, I was what, 15 years old?
Okay.
And he's 6 weeks out from the Olympia and he just, he looks perfect. He looks like unbelievable and perfect, and he looks enormous. Like his arms looked, his arms are probably what, 18 inches.
Right.
Maybe,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Maybe.
Maybe,
But,
yeah.
He weighed like 190. We probably weighed 205 at the time. He was coming down, right? But I just remember being like blown away. And I remember Lee being such a nice guy and such a great first pro to meet. But I remember even Lee telling me, he's like, everybody does too many sets because they don't train hard enough. You read these magazines where they got like 20 sets of quads and stuff. He's like, ignore all that stuff. He goes, do like 3 hard sets, move on, do 3 hard sets. Just, you don't need to do a whole bunch of sets. And I remember him telling me 9 sets for big body parts, 6 sets for small body parts. Like that's what he told me.
Yeah.
Really?
And I was like, oh, okay. Wow. So that's what I would do. I would do like 3 exercises, 3 hard sets for big things, and then 2 exercises, 3 hard sets for small things. And then within a couple of years, all the Dorian stuff was hitting the magazines and all the interviews were coming out, and Dorian had won the O. And then I made the full transformation to like 1 to 2 working sets and even more intensity and more forced reps. And, you
do like one set, like 1 set to failure. Then your next set might be like a back off set or a drop set or something.
Yeah. Or maybe not even do it another set, like certain exercises, do 1 all out set, and with forced reps and stuff. And we just did that. And the funny thing was when I started training like Dorian, I hadn't used any drugs yet. Like this was in high school. Right, but I remember when I started training like Dorian, my strength exploded. Like I was like, oh, whoa, I was doing way too much. Like I was like overtraining, like, high school kid just in there, just doing
100%
doing too much, and obviously, I had advice from people like Labrada, but you're still like kind of overdoing it, And then when I tried to really restrict it, how Dorian had it, I remember just everything just what took off, and I saw the value in that, like learning those principles and finding a middle ground kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I was probably way too dogmatic with my training for a long time. Like I look back at some years where I don't think I really made any improvements at all because I was so stuck in my like, I'm just going to force this,
right?
Yeah. But it was definitely valuable to learn, and I think that I owe a great deal of the success I did have to just being focused on training really, really hard. I think at the end of the day, that's the takeaway.
Yeah. And like when you're saying training hard, like for the people that are watching, like can you give maybe some tips of like how to try to get? I don't know, like how do you teach intensity to somebody? I'm working with some people that we just can't get it yet. They can't get how to like train with intent and train with intensity instead of just working hard. Yeah.
I guess having purpose, like I logbooked a lot of stuff in the early days. Like I still have a bunch of my logbooks. I still have like every single workout for years and years and years and years recorded in books. I have, my little code, flat dumbbell press, 90s times 7 plus 2F means right, 2 forced reps, right? Okay. And then the next set, like, 70 times 2 or 70 times 8, and then 70 times 6 DS, 40 times 5, like drop set. Like I got all that. Yeah. I got books and books and books of that stuff. And I think that's probably the answer to a lot of people, like those goals, right? Because goals will force you to be intense if you really chase them. Like, you do an easy 6 this week, and then next week you get 7. And even if you're not an intense person, you got, okay, well, I got my 7. And eventually you're going to run into that number where you really have to push yourself. And the logbook will help trigger people to cross that line multiple times over and over. And it can help them. And like, I don't think progressive overload training is like the be all end all. There's a whole bunch of people it doesn't apply to for various reasons, including like myself right now. Like I don't train in like a progressive overload fashion anymore. I got too many injuries. I don't want to get hurt, but for most people, especially young guys trying to put on weight and change their physique and take those first big leaps, I think like it's really, really valuable. And I try to remind people like, I think that one of the values that I had was like just being motivated to set goals, like not just a logbook, but I remember like when I used to freestyle ski when I was a kid, I remember like going to the mountain that day and having like goals. Like I'm going to do 10 360s today. Oh. Like we're going to ski moguls and I'm going to land 10 helicopters. Like I got to land 10 helicopters today. So we would go ski some runs, and we'd find some good bumps, and we're going to launch helicopters off this. And I'd like,
Nice.
Like we're going to do 10 of these today, or whatever trick I wanted to do. But there was always something in me that sort of was like tallying things. And so that kind of brings intensity out in you because you're chasing numbers.
Really
and now I do that on the bike. I literally do that. I'm like, I'll be working on a trick. I'm like, okay, I got to pull 5 of these today. Like on my new trick, I have to pull at least 1. Like I pulled it once. I got to pull it again today. I got to pull it again tomorrow. Next Sunday, I got to pull it twice.
Would you just keep going on your bike until you get it? Like that?
Yeah,
day,
like
I'm not
the other
leaving.
day
The
I
sun's
did.
going down. I'm
Yeah, like I spent a half an hour just trying to pull something once, and then you're, okay, I got it, okay. And then maybe the next session, it only takes 5 minutes, but you're like, okay, I got it. And then you just but it's just those little challenges, and I don't know why I'm like that, but that's just how I am. And then I even do that when I practice guitar. I'm like, okay, I'm working on a Guns N' Roses song right now. So I'm like, okay, I got to, like tonight after Emily goes to bed, I got to run through that 5 times. I got to try to get that. It's got a little tighter. It was okay, last time I practiced, but I got to run through that song 5 times. And so I'll get warmed up, and, I'll do my practices and whatever I try to do to stay on top of my trying to improve. And then I'll get that song going in my headphones, and I'll run through it 5 times,
Yeah.
And I just really like that. I really like that stuff. It's part of how I do things. So
kind of how you operate, and
it
will definitely shows in the training too, right? All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump into a couple more questions here.
Yeah, man.
I put up a question box like I do with pretty much everybody. And for some reason, we got a lot of similar ones that I now have titled Romper Room with Ron.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
This is getting better, Josh. This interview is progressing, this is a progressive interview.
Okay, good. This is how we like it. We like to build up. So I've titled this Romper Room with Ron, and the first question goes, hey guys, I guess this could be for everyone, but I'm going to direct it towards Ron first. Have you guys have any advice for someone that's looking for love in the gym community, and how do I pursue it?
Asking us?
Wow.
Goodness, we'll go for Ron or whoever wants to jump in there. But
I've been off the market for an awfully long time, but I definitely like to observe what happens in my gym.
Exactly. And, I'm sure you see a lot of
in the 5 years of being a gym owner, especially at a gym like West Coast, I have seen, a lot of heartbreaks and true loves. And I see the couples, like they come in and I could see them form, they come in single, and then all of a sudden they start coming in together, and then they're doing cardio together, and then they start coming in together. And then, about like 6 months later, one of them has to put their membership on hold and go train at any time for a little while. So I see all the stuff happen and go down. But I don't know if I have any real advice about this, but I think my advice, the way I always used to approach it, back in the olden days, was to make sure that the girl, like if there's a girl at the gym that you do have an eye for, like I almost would make sure that I didn't acknowledge her in the gym. Like I would almost try to keep it outside of the gym. You know what I mean? Like 100%. I would want that boundary to stay up, I would probably pull my hat even lower and put my headphones on even earlier. And just maybe go sit in her section at the restaurant next week or something like that.
Try to make
find
sure
out where she works and stalk her there.
I was like, make sure you're not too obvious following her to the gym.
Yeah, just hang outside her apartment.
It's like, you get her.
Don't bother her.
No, not at the end. But get her gym schedule down.
Yeah, the old me would want that girl to know that I'm the most hardcore guy there, so I'm going to ignore her completely. That would be my sense.
And then deadlift beside her?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. I would, I would want no acknowledgement.
Just complete shutdown.
Play really hard to get.
Yeah, some play hard to get. I play hard to want.
So that kind of leads into the next one. It's like, I'm in a relationship, but I have a gym crush. Is this okay? What should I do? Like,
the best advice is nothing.
Nothing.
Just nothing, because it's irrelevant. Stay out of trouble.
Stay. Yeah, we don't. Yeah,
You know,
observe.
of course,
from
I don't
a
know how
distance.
serious they're. Maybe the best advice is to dump their significant other because it's not the right person for them and go for their gym crush. But I'm not informed enough to make those types of calls.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. If this is taking so much of your interest to write this in a question, maybe there's a little bit more going on.
Yeah.
I don't know what they mean by
Maybe look into
significant
the
other.
relationship.
Is it your last gym crush and it's just still the one you're on? I don't know.
What are you doing with yours, Andy?
My gym crushes?
Yeah.
Well, not much. I put air tags in their bags and follow them around. Just the usual stuff.
That's usual. Good.
Let's put an air tag in their gas tank. We're good.
Good.
No gym crushes here. No way. Nope.
Gym crushes are only gym crushes till you actually get to know them.
Right. Then there's like, no.
Like, okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Good from afar.
Yeah.
All right.
Keep it that way.
Mess up your gym routine, and that's the last thing you want.
Nah, man. The old saying, don't shit where you eat.
Yeah,
man. You don't want to make it super awkward at the gym, right? What's that, Andy?
Don't let your wife get paranoid every time you go to the gym. Just
no. That's what the secondary membership is for. If you're a single dude, you get the secondary membership to kind of like the nice gym, where maybe like more of like, more women are doing cardio, and you do your cardio over there, or you go train arms once in a while, and you see if there's any vibes. But you keep your business at the real gym. That's what we used to do. That's the real answer.
That's smart, man. That's smart. I like that.
It is a good plan.
Yeah. Secondary membership. Yeah. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that 24-hour gym tag that you rarely use.
And that all kind of plays into this next question. This one's for Ron. You and your girl seem to have a really good relationship. When you go traveling for Mutant on a Mission and all of your other go traveling for Mutant on a Mission and all of your other events, how does she handle that? When I leave for 2 to 3 hours outside of the house, I have to message my partner or she goes crazy. Said, we've been together for a long time, but I don't think I've ever shown any signs of infidelity. So how do you, when you're away so long, keep your relationship strong?
I think Emily just knows me. She knows me so well. She knows the things that I have absolutely no patience for. And I have no patience at all for any nonsense or drama. I cannot stand it. Yeah. I cannot stand anything that makes anything more complicated. Just fuck right off. I want nothing to do with you. I want no hassles. I want clean sailing. I got stuff to do. I'm super busy. My phone is melting constantly. Yeah. Emily knows she never worries about me. I take the fucking kid's bike off the wall and go hang out with my 50-year-old buddies for 3 hours in a lacrosse box. She knows I'm staying out of trouble.
Yeah. Is that a real bike behind you? It looks tiny.
Yeah, that's my bike.
It looks so small.
It's a long ways away though.
Okay.
It's not to scale.
It looks like a model.
It's like right by my head.
I was wondering the same thing.
Picks it up.
That's why he looks so big on it.
She knows me. She knows how tired I am when I'm on those trips. She knows I got 6 a.m. flight to this city, and then I'm shooting at a gym, and then we're straight to the airport, and then we're straight to the hotel, and then we're going to bed, and then we get up the next morning, go for breakfast, go to the next gym, shoot another episode of Mutant on a Mission, straight to the airport. She knows my schedule. She just if you asked her if she was worried, she'd probably laugh at you. She doesn't even have time.
She has time.
Barely. He comes home from those trips exhausted. Right.
So I think this person has a problem and probably needs to address it big time.
Yeah, that's not cool. I mean, that's something about I don't know the facts here, but that's something about that partner being insecure, and maybe that's something to do with them, or maybe you have a bad habit that you do that you don't realize, or I don't know. Point. Who knows? Maybe you're liking too many other bikini photos on here. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
It's funny. I show my I'll open my here. I'll show you. And like I'm like a very qualified old school pervert. And my Instagram is like almost completely like, look at my search. Just trying to,
I think
it's like guitar pedals. It's like not even working. What's going on here? What page are you supposed to go? What's the one with all your, is that your search? Do you look at your search? What do you look at? Trending? What page do you go to?
Oh, I think
The
like
search
just like
shows
your
all the
Yeah.
things you like, I
yeah.
think.
There it
So
is.
like here, like I don't know.
Yeah, there it is.
Look at my page. It's like there's like one fitness girl, Kurt Cobain, dogs, guitars, BMX bikes, bodybuilders. But like a lot of guys, if they roll
It's
this
just like-
screen, it's just whores.
Yeah, just
Right?
horrors upon horrors, and
Just
like,
whores upon whores, right? But
Yeah.
I've got like
that's the
dogs,
title of this
Dorian.
video.
Horse.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like it's funny.
Yeah. Right.
You can tell a lot about a person by their like search screen.
Oh, by their search. Yeah. Let's go through.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Looking at it.
Be careful
I'm
who
looking at
show
my
that
search
to.
screen.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's looking now. Oh shit. I
Oh,
gotta get
oh,
an act
shit.
up.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm a pervert.
It's
too.
like, how do you? It's like everyone just automatically starts searching nice
guys.
cuddly things.
Yours are all
Trying to-
guys. That's
Everyone
You gotta go do. You got to go do like 20 dog searches in a row to reset your algorithm.
Yeah.
quick.
I'll show it to you in a second. Just a sec, babe.
Yeah.
Guitars, bikes, motorbikes, cars. You know, I follow too many dog posts. The dog rescues, the dog
I
do
rescue
too.
posts, they just fucking
Yeah.
kill me.
They can't. Man, they're. Yeah, if you want an emotional search, then go for it.
Yeah, just
Right.
you know, because I just love dogs so much. So
I follow like Pomeranians, like every Pomeranian account I think on Instagram I follow.
oh really? Yeah, I like the dash hounds too. I follow a lot of the dash hound ones. I don't have a dash hound, but we just like we think
just-
they're the cutest.
Just like them.
Yeah.
Yeah. We babysit one once in a while. Our friend has a couple of dash hounds, so sometimes
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
drop them both off here for a few days. They're just what a crazy pair. They're nuts.
All right. So, would you rather win Mr. O or be world champion at like what's the question? Or would you rather win your Mr. O or be champion as a flatlander on your bike?
Oh well, I mean
And then what would
a Mr. Olympia, of course.
Okay.
Like that would have been, to win an Olympia. I can't imagine, that that's something I spent my whole life, looking up to
sure.
and stuff like that. That's amazing. But I'll take being good at I'll take being above average at anything at this point.
yeah.
Yeah, as I hone in. I'm 47. I'm 47. I'll be 48 this year, right? So,
Awesome.
I don't have any I don't have any resentment for bodybuilding at all. Like I know a lot of guys in my position, they're like, oh man, I wish I could have made it more. I wish I would have done more. I'm fine. Like everything was fine.
Yeah.
Like I got
You're
injuries. I got things wrong with me and my lat's fucked up. I haven't been able to figure out what's wrong with my tricep, but like my fucking knees are good. My quad surgery was perfect. Like I'm very functional. I'm kind of athletic now. I'm really lucky.
You're doing
And
well.
the blood work's good, and everything just kind of turned out really well, and I wouldn't change anything. Like I'm glad I didn't turn pro earlier. It would have just ended my career because I didn't have the social media. Like I was lucky I got to be an amateur and have Mutant back me and push me out in all those videos and spend time with Rich and just catch that whole wave and do my own thing with everything afterwards. And if I would have turned pro back in like 2004, 5, 6, those 7, 8, 9, like all those years I was getting second, I would have just wound up just like getting killed at a pro show. And then what? And all I had was Facebook.
Right.
Like who cares? Like,
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
it was,
no one,
you just would have got lost in the shuffle and Mutant would have never happened. And, so I just, I'm totally fine with all of it. Like I don't have any regrets. Like, oh, that one show I was really flat. So what? No one cares. Who cares? You were really flat at a show. You still looked fucking great. Like one of my biggest regrets was this one show I got second at because I was just really flat. And I came back at the night show and I looked way better. But I don't care.
Still,
it's all right.
yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Learning, right? Learning experience, Phil.
A lot of good experiences too. I mean, 20 years old, meeting Nasser, El somebody.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, that's a story of its own right there. And sitting all day waiting for Leland Brada to come in, and then seeing after you thought he was so small. Like, there's so many things that you went through in your time.
Yeah, and really, I remember, one of my, probably not my finest moment, but at the time it was one of my funnest moments. 2002, I went to my first Olympia. Nice. And I was going to meet some friends there. A couple guys from Australia were going to come over to watch the show, and they were my old buddies from when I lived there. So I was going to go down and meet up with them, and like, I haven't seen them for years, and it was my first Olympia, and like, I'm just, Mandalay Bay, and like, let's go. Cool. I was ready, like my first trip to Vegas, everything, right? So of course, like, I had like, a fair number of drinks that first night in the hotel lounge, right? At the Mandalay Bay, I'm pounding vodka OJs, and I'm probably 6-7 vodka OJs deep, couple shots of Jack. We're having fun, like reunion party, you know what I mean? And I remember just like looking around and seeing all these people that I had posters of on my wall. Like Mike Christian was sitting at the bar just drinking a Diet Coke, like just sitting there talking. So I remember going up to Mike Christian and starting a conversation with them. And I'm this drunk kid, essentially.
Like, oh, no.
But he was super cool. And then like Triple H was leaning on the bar because he was the MC for the show. And I started talking to Triple H. And then Triple H is talking to me, and we're like joking. I'm like, so does Ronnie have it this year? And he's like, yeah, probably, man. And then he's like, oh, this is my friend Dave, and introduces me to this guy Dave I've never seen before. I talk to him, becomes Dave Bautista later on, but at the time he hadn't wrestled yet. So he's like, so I'm like, oh man, you're a big dude. He's like, yeah, I'm getting into wrestling. Triple H been helping me. Like I didn't know who he was yet. And then Kevin Nash is sitting there, and I start talking to Kevin Nash about his knee surgery, and he's like, oh man. And then he go have a seat. So I have a seat with them and have a vodka OJ with them. Like crazy stuff. Crazy. But it all came from just being like outgoing and going up and talking to Triple H.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like a lot of people wouldn't have gone and bugged him, but I was like, I'm going to go ask Triple H who's going to win. He was on, I'm going to walk right up to him. Triple H, what do you think? Ronnie got it this year. And he's like, hey man, he just starts talking to me. And I don't know. I just had the best. I wasn't going to let the opportunity of meeting all those people go to waste. I walked around that hotel lounge by myself because I lost my buddies. Like they were whatever. I walked around that hotel lounge by myself for like a couple hours and just had conversations with all these people that were just like, I'd never thought I'd ever have a chance to meet them and stuff. And so like, it was magical time, that was a great era.
Opportunities to take advantage of.
That's the thing.
I remember I went to Olympia too to watch Olympia there. I forget what year it was. I turned 40. And the next morning I was having breakfast at this little cafe, whatever. And I looked over and Franco Colombo sitting there. I said, yes, sir. So I went over to talk to him, introduce myself, and he, he was nice and everything, and whatever I wanted, we talked about it. I went to sit down, and then the waitress came over. I said, I want to buy his breakfast. Please let me buy his breakfast. So I mean, I had that little opportunity just to buy Franco, and I kept the receipt. I really don't know where it is right now, but to buy Franco's breakfast was just that was pretty cool. And I remember being at the night thing there. They had all where the professionals are, and you can go and meet them. And Jay Cutler, I was meet and greet. I was a fan of Jay's, and I went in and waited in line long enough. And I sat down beside Jay, and I couldn't fucking talk. He asked me questions. No. He asked me questions, and my wife was sitting there videoing and saying, and you could hear on there, talk to him. I couldn't even say nothing. I was looking at him, and he kept talking. He must have thought I was a retard, like really. And when I get up, I was like, no, I want to do it over. Let's do it over. Yeah, but it was amazing those opportunities to meet those people, right? Anyway, that was my little story for the Olympia. But it's fun.
No, it was cool. It was cool because, like, I mean, now with Instagram, our perceptions are a little different because everybody's kind of reachable. Like, you can send a message to somebody and like they might reply. Yeah. Like, but back then, like, you never have a chance to see them again if you don't go talk to them right now.
Right.
So it's
that's
kind of weird thing.
It's really cool that you were able to be so present in those moments at such a young age to just like, I'm doing this, I have to. Instead
just
awareness.
I find people are like a lot nicer than I think most people think they're gonna be. You know, I think a lot of people
especially
enjoy hearing from a
bodybuilders.
fan. Yeah, especially bodybuilders.
Yeah.
We're not like, you know, it's not like other people really care that much what we're doing. So I think that, you know, when they get a
Yeah,
genuine
we're the
fan,
only ones that understand each other.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
right.
there's a little bit of like understanding. Like, you know, I've been around a lot of really good bodybuilders, and I've realized that like a lot of them, they don't really even see themselves. Like there's a lot of really great bodybuilders out there. They don't really see themselves as any better than you or me. They just know that they're better, like they're a better bodybuilder, but they're not
Right.
like, they're not doing anything we didn't try to do,
Oh,
you know? Like one of the most humble guys, like just off the charts, like bizarre, down to earth is Brandon Curry. Like Brandon Curry doesn't talk to anybody like he's better at anything than they are, or
I've heard
that
a
he
few
tried
interviews
any
from
harder
him.
than them, or that he, you know, you talk to Brandon, you feel like you're talking to like just another dude at your gym who's just trying to get a workout in, man, just trying to
Right.
improve, you know? And there's a lot of really great guys that are like that. They have that vibe because they actually do get it. They understand, like they have, like, you know, obviously they have a mental gift of like focus and drive and determination,
yes.
and they've exploited their talents and all that, but they also they're just a lot better at it than everybody else. And they're not going to rub it in your face. They're, you know, they give you credit, you know, they give everybody equal credit for what they're doing. And you know, Jay was always like that too. Jay was always like that, you know?
Yeah.
So
He always.
I remember a quick story about Jay. It would have been 2001. I was getting ready for nationals and was doing my own diet. And back in the message board days, you know, Jay Cutler was like cuts 260 on the message boards. And I remember I emailed him because I had his email. And I asked him a carb question. And I remember it was like 6 weeks out from the O. And it was like 3 weeks out from my show.
Oh, okay.
And I asked him a question about like carb staggering, like, you know, coming into the show. And he answered me, and like an hour later, I got an email from him. It was like, you know, like a full paragraph long.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, fuck. Like he replied right away. And then like a couple years later, I think it was 2003. The year Ronnie was fucking enormous and won. Yeah, first year. So
Right.
2003, I met Jay in Vegas. He was standing with Chris Aceto, who I hadn't met yet. And I walked over and I introduced myself to him. And I said, hey, Jay, I just wanted to say thank you for, you know, being so cool on the message boards. I'm Rep 300. And he goes,
nice. That's good to
oh,
meet.
hey, man, good to meet you. And he like talked to me about the emails. Like he knew exactly who I was.
Wow.
He remembered like,
Crazy.
because there had been a few
What
emails.
a
He
guy.
remembered exactly who I was. And he even said to Chris, he's like, oh, it's a Canadian guy. And then like, yeah, so that was like, you know, something about Jay that was just really, and I remember being like, oh, wow, okay, that's how you have to be. That's how the really good guys are
Right.
with these fans.
Yeah.
Like, you know, don't ever take that for granted, and remember that, and be like Jay,
Be
you
like
know,
Jay.
all that stuff. Yeah, be like Jay, you know,
Jay's
first guy
awesome.
to show up,
Yeah.
last guy to leave at any event. You know, that was what I always heard about Jay. And I remember Rich Piano was big about that too. He said, yeah, when I'm setting up my booth, because, you know, when he had 5% there after
Yeah,
Mutant,
yeah.
I remember we went into like an expo to set up the booth, make sure the booth got set up. I think we went over there like the day before the expo, and Rich was there setting up his own booth, and Jay Cutler was there setting up his own booth.
Cool.
And Rich goes, I'm here because that's how he does it. Like, so,
Wow.
you know, he's like,
Love
yeah,
it.
just cool stuff. So Jay was
Yeah.
always the king of a lot of that type of stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was like the best ambassador for the sport. One of them.
Still
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Jay.
If he's so reachable, how do we get him on here? Just-
We managed to get him on our show. It took a little while, but I mean, he's a
he
busy
was one of my
dude.
favorites. You asked me that question when we were at in Columbus. There, you guys were filming your podcast.
And,
And he
and
treat-
I asked you like
Yeah,
what question? Like, who's your favorite?
Yeah, who's your favorite guest? I was like, Jay's definitely one of my favorites. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's awesome. He just makes
was
everything
cool.
easy, you know.
he was just nice, right? Just a nice guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. So how? Well, we'll keep kind of cut this short here, but
No,
how
we're good.
do
We're good
we?
for time.
All right, cool. How do we bring West Coast to the East Coast?
Oh,
How do we get
Wow.
how do we get a West Coast iron in the East Coast?
Well, we'd love to expand the brand in some way, but we want to make sure if we ever do anything, we do it right. And
Yep.
we don't think we're ready to franchise quite yet because we feel like we really want to still have control of the brand, and sometimes franchising isn't the best way to have control of the brand if you don't really feel like that's, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, I get it. You don't want
And
to
if we're going to
you
do
want to let it
another
go yet.
location, we would want one of the owners to be there a lot, especially for the first year. So, right now we're just really focused on bringing our brand online. We're getting our website ready for online sales. So all the merch
Oh,
will
nice.
finally be online, all the hats, all the hoodies. We're going to really try to expand that and help get the most out of the brand that we have, and get our online sales really going. Cause I've mailed hoodies and hats to, all over the
Oh,
world. I've mailed
for
stuff.
sure.
I take a bag full of hoodies and hats to FIBO every year because fans want me to take them to the booth, and they want to come to the booth and buy the hats off me and stuff. So we've been mailing stuff around. I mailed hoodies to Australia. I mailed hoodies to all over Europe, Middle East. I mailed some hats, so
Yeah.
it's been really cool. So actually
That's
our number one priority right now is to get the online, going so that, we can just help get the most out of the gym.
Oh, that's so. Yeah. When did this idea for West Coast start? Like, there was you and a couple other people in the beginning, and
Yeah, well,
because we all I think everybody that steps foot into a gym at one point says, "I want my own gym," right? I
right.
100% I do. I'm like, oh, if I won the lottery, that's one of the things that we're doing. That's then we all sit and think about it, what we'd have in it, what we'd call it, but then
Yeah.
you would go and do it. Where
Well,
how does
I
that
remember when I was still bodybuilding, I remember every single gym owner told me that as soon as they had the gym, it was hard to be a bodybuilder. Like a lot of
okay, yeah,
them said that, you know what I mean? Like, oh, the competing took a back seat as soon as I owned a gym. Like that's just kind of the reality that, I mean, doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you have to really be prepared for that to be like a thing. And if you have enough support or enough staff or enough money or whatever, then maybe you can make it kind of go away. But, problems go away if you have money. So,
Yeah.
but, for a lot of gym owners are like, yeah, competing stuff when you own a gym, because, you got to do all this other stuff and everything at the gym and people bugging you at the gym and blah, blah, blah. But,
Yeah.
so I had
own the gym
already,
too.
yeah. I'd already torn my quad, so I already kind of figured I was retired. And basically what happened was our gym just closed because the owner died. So the owner died at the
no,
gym we were at. Gym closed. That was it. And it was like,
done.
okay, I guess I'm driving to the Gold's. It's 20 minutes away because the Gold's right by my house is terrible. Like it's like the worst Gold's ever.
Oh,
And then
that's
the
sad.
Gold's the Gold's that used to be in Burnaby was like an old school Gold's. They had 200-pound dumbbells. They had all the hammer strength plate loaded. They had it was like,
Nice.
it was like a good
Nice.
old school Gold's, right? And so I was I was driving there to train, but it was, Vancouver traffic. Oh man, it was a bit of a hassle. And so me and a couple of the guys that trained at that other gym that was right by where we are, we started talking like, hey, let's maybe lease that spot and open it up again and put a gym in there. And can we make this work?
Right.
And I think part of it was there was initially 5 of us, right? So that was the real pressure relief for the
That made
individuals,
it
was like,
slightly
oh, there's going to be
easier.
5 of us. It's not as big of an investment initially, and there's going to be a lot of pressure. You can distribute the work, and so that made it possible, I think. And that was definitely a massive factor. It was just having a group of people that really just wanted to create a great place to train that was going to be fun, and we could crank the music and not have to do commercial rule bullshit and not have to follow all these dumb where you try to please everybody. Is one of the main, like, we all brought a lot of things to the group, and one of the things that I remember saying was, one of my favorite sayings is, if you try to please if you try to be good for everybody, you wind up being great for nobody.
Right.
And we thought, okay, we want to be great for certain people, and we're going to take all of them. And we're gonna own us. I know it's a share of the market that nobody else really cares about, but that's fine because we'll own it, completely own it, and then no one else will care. And the funny thing is, like, I think of the other gyms, like at first, I think they were happy that they lost a lot of their bodybuilders.
I can see that. Oh, definitely. Yeah,
like certain guys are like, oh God, thank God that guy's gone. But I remember explicitly, a lot of people were telling us like, well, you're not gonna make it. Your gym's gonna be too hardcore. You can't paint it black. Like I remember my one buddy came in and he saw that we were painting it black, and he's like, why are you painting it black? And I'm like, well, all the pictures will pop off the walls, and the equipment will really stand out, and it'll be an intense environment.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you're gonna get no girls in here, man. It's too intimidating. And then right off the bat, like within the first week, we just had girls in tights everywhere.
You're like,
and I remember I started asking them like, what do you like about this gym? And they're like, oh, there's no like weird normal people staring at me and filming my butt, like the creepy old men that you see at the commercial gyms.
I love it.
And the creepy guys that don't that stalk them and stare at them and stuff. Because at our gym, right off the bat, like guys like you guys don't creep girls out because you're not staring at them. You're busy working out.
Yeah.
You don't give a shit. So they just, you're staring at yourself. You're worried about if your pecs are flat.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely. Yeah. Or we're staring at the other guy going, man, that guy looks good.
Yeah. So that was really encouraging. And once we saw that right off the bat, we were like, okay, we're gonna go with our guts and our initial, like we're gonna be okay, and we just ran with it. Yeah.
And now you have extremely successful gym. It looks amazing.
Well, I mean, it's just we're fortunate to just even be here after the hurdles thrown at gyms. A lot of gyms didn't make it. A lot of gyms got really wrecked. And we just had a great support, really great support from the community. And, we try to sponsor a lot of shows and give away a lot of prizes. And, we let anytime there's a show in the area, like the Van Pro was just here, we let every single person that came to town for the Van Pro, we let them all train for free the entire week.
That's amazing, man.
Everybody.
Instead of jacking up your prices like some gyms.
Everybody, not just the competitors, but their friends, their teams, their training partners, everyone that came through the door, welcome with open arms, no charge. Come in here, be at your best,
Man, that's badass.
And of
that's
course,
great.
We sort of hope they all buy a hoodie or something, and it works out in the wash. But at the same time, we see it as like just supporting the community and making sure that everybody knows that like we're the gym that have their backs, and we're okay with not making, I don't know how many drop-ins would we have charged for, probably a couple hundred drop-ins, which, but then 100 drop-ins, maybe 100 drop-ins we missed, so it would be nice to get that money, but at the same time, like we believe it comes back to us in other ways, and it's worth it. And it's an investment in our commitment to be a part of the shows. And, everyone who comes knows that, you got to get an Airbnb close to West Coast. You know what I mean? And that's really cool. People come and
those people are coming
pick
back.
Where they're staying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Or
so
that's so much more advertisement on your part too. Like fantastic advertisement from those people.
Yeah. Just try to make sure everybody knows that that's, so we do that type of stuff just to kind of, make a real point of supporting the bodybuilders,
Yeah. Awesome.
So how long have you been open? How long have you owned it?
We had our 5-year anniversary in October, so we're going on 6 this October. Yeah.
So you went through COVID too, and
took the full adventure ride with all the nonsense. Yeah. But we got through it. We got through it our own way. We got through it by kind of laying low on social media and trying not to attract too much attention. And I mean, we're lucky we're in a part of Canada where they weren't forcing gyms to close for like long periods of time. We dodged what Ontario suffered, Ontario and Alberta and Quebec, where they had some pretty draconian tyrants running things out there. But out in BC, out in BC, we had some real moronical decisions for sure. Absolutely. But at the same time, you know, we were open. There was a couple times when they panicked and closed all the yoga classes, but we don't have any classes.
Oh.
So
We don't fucking do yoga.
we're just open normal. You know, a lot of people would come in. Are you guys? Oh yeah, we're fine. We don't have any classes here. It's just classes that got closed. Oh, okay. You know, like, you know, so, how people don't really know what's going on because they're panicking about the latest news, and it was a crazy time. But, you know, we made it through, and the gym actually grew during COVID. It actually grew quite a bit because, you know, other gyms were doing like extra regulations that they didn't even have to do, you know, because they're trying to appease they're trying to appease like certain sliver of people that want like mass, really tight rules, you know? So, you know, we were doing the, how do you put bare minimum? Is that the term?
I think, yeah.
That's it.
Just enough.
Just enough to get by.
Love it.
I've got my mask on. So, So I don't know. There's funny enough, there's a large segment of the population that really, they're okay with the bare minimum.
You would wonder, right? Imagine.
Yeah.
Like,
you know,
especially hardcore bodybuilders and stuff. They're okay with it. Yeah.
Fuck.
No.
No.
As long as they got some weights to lift, they're good.
Yeah. I remember I have a friend who has a powerlifting gym, and he doesn't live where I live. He lives in a different part of the country. But at one point, a health inspector came to his gym because she, you know, heard they weren't wearing masks, right? So she came to do an inspection, and he answered the door, no mask, right? She's like, oh my goodness, and then he let her in. And it was a powerlifting gym. So like anyone who's been to like a real powerlifting gym, they only have like 100 members. Some of them, you know, like he's got like this super hardcore, like powerlifting, you know, where he teaches powerlifting. That's it. It's just like 100 members. They all have a fob, you know, like that type of gym.
Yeah.
And he said that she just happened to come when there was a big crew squatting heavy.
Yes. Okay.
Like he said, it was magical. It was like the perfect time. And he's like, come on in, have a look. And he's thinking, what's she going to do? Right. And he lets her in, and she walks in, and they have like death metal blasting, like, you know, just blasting. And there's guys squatting like 6 plates with blood coming out of their nose.
Yeah.
And there's blood on the mirror, blood on the floor, people yelling and screaming. And she came in, she was there for like a few seconds. She's like, she even said, she's like, there's a lot that you guys aren't doing, but like I'm never going to come back here. Like, you guys, like, there's no way you're going to listen to me. Like, she knew, she's like,
no, 100%.
I do not belong here. Like, there's not enough of you. Like, he told her, he's like, I have like 80 members or whatever. And she's like, oh God.
It's not worth the time.
Dude, what's the paperwork on all the blood? Like,
How many?
You go about that.
It's like, you know, a cop. There's like a scenario where a cop might catch you and just go,
no, just turn around.
It's too much.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah,
look the other way.
That's awesome. Cool, man. Yeah, buddy. Thanks really much, man, for coming in. Unless any of you guys got any more questions for Big Ron?
I was curious about, you said you worked in the bar industry for a while. What did you do there? Were you a bouncer? Or?
Well, at first, I started in the bar when I was 18, right? Because I was, you know, young and impressionable. And the bar manager trained at the gym, of course, and all the door guys trained at the gym. And so they're like, as soon as you turn 18, you're on our crew. I'm like, oh, really? And they're like, yeah, come work in the bar. You'll have a blast. It's like, we'll put you on the door. You'll make good money. You're good with people. Like, so even as a 17-year-old, like, kid at the gym, all the older guys were like, as soon as you're 18, you're one of us, you know, like, I played football and stuff. So they knew like, you know, I was like a big kid, you know, obviously. So as soon as I turned 18, I started bouncing at one of the local bars. And, you know, you work the front door for 5 hours, and you go in the back with all the head doormen, and they pile up all the cash you made, and they hand you $300, and it's 1993.
Nice.
So $300 is like,
Yeah.
fuck
That's
yeah.
good.
I just made
That's
$300 in 5 hours talking to girls at the front door. There was one fight, and there was 5 of us and 2 of them, so it was easy to break up. Yeah.
Huh.
This is
It's
awesome.
easy.
So,
That's a very different-
I'm working 3 nights a week. My dad's wondering how I put a new stereo in my truck. I'm like, it's all good, Dad. I got to figure it out. He's like, aren't you going to get a day job? I'm like, nope. I'm going to train and sleep and eat. And so I had like a really good intro to the bar business, you know, right on the front door with
Wow.
like the older guys that ran the front door, and like got in with that crew. And then the bouncing just became I traveled, lived in Australia and all that. It's a great job when you're traveling because you can get hired anywhere and you've got experience and
Cool.
you're good with, if you're good with people and they recognize that. And so I bounced my way around until I, wound up in Edmonton and I had a bit of bartending experience because I worked at a restaurant, bartended a bit. So I had a bit of bartending experience, and I eventually got one of my friends to give me a bartending job in 2001. And no one wanted to give me a bartending job because they didn't want to waste a doorman.
Right.
Like,
oh,
the
this
problem
guy
is when you're really good at something. Like I was a good doorman in Edmonton, like I could work the front door at a club, I could talk to people, I could talk to the gangsters, I could talk to the cops. I knew how to grease, I could work the back door with the V. I knew the system, and not all guys can handle all that. And they don't want to lose that doorman, so they don't want to put you on the bar. But I got a buddy that I remember one night there was a big fight on the dance floor, and afterwards we went down to kind of like sort everything out. We'd kicked everybody out, and I went down on the dance floor and I picked up a great big Rambo knife about this long.
Ooh.
And I remember I took it into my boss's office. I put it in my jacket. It was winter time. I put it in my winter jacket. I went back to the front door. We closed, we finished the night up. And when I went into the office to get my tips, I threw it on my boss's desk and I said, I'm done. And he goes, whoa. And I said, yeah, it's my last night. And he goes, fair enough. And I just left, and I went over to my buddy who had kind of offered me bit of a bar gig. And I was like, I'm ready to bartend. And then that was it. I bartended for like 11 more years. And then eventually just one day I was just like, I don't really need to be here anymore. I should probably quit this job. I'm getting old, and just like, it was 2012. I worked my last bar shift. And I had enough clients by then. I was dieting a lot of people, and I didn't really need to be in the bar anymore. And I just, made the graceful exit and never looked back. But yeah, I spent 16 years in the bar. I saw a lot of crazy stuff. I met a lot of amazing people and crazy characters, and like, from the worst gangsters to the, chief of police to the, I knew everybody. I knew everybody in Edmonton. I knew all the characters. You get to meet. I worked at a live rock bar, so we got to meet like rock and roll guys. Cool. Like, it was pretty cool. Like, I remember like one night I went to work and we had this band that hadn't quite made it yet. Yeah. And they're playing. It's like a Thursday night. The room's got like 100 people in it. I'm sitting in the back office joking around with them. And a week later, their song blows up, and it's Nickelback. Their song blows up because they're from that area, right?
Yeah,
so they played all the bars around there.
Right?
Everybody knew them.
You're like Forrest Gump. You've done everything, been everywhere.
Yeah, it's just funny.
Everyone.
Like, you just meet all these people, and cool bands come through, and I'd always, I got to, some of the cover bands we'd have would get to know me pretty well, so they'd invite me up on stage and give me a guitar, and I'd play a song at the end of the night with them, and like I had all this crazy fun in the bar. It was just an awesome experience.
That's so cool.
So, and there was obviously some down stuff, like there was some real bad violent shit that happened and stuff, but I got out unscathed, and I'm lucky. But that's that industry. It's crazy,
man.
So
you have
Ron,
a very different experience than when I was a doorman at a bar in Halifax.
Yeah,
I worked
a different era maybe.
I worked in the mid 2000s. I worked as a doorman at a gay bar in Halifax.
Oh, so
yeah. When I got invited to the back room, it was not to get paid.
Oh yeah, different. Yeah.
So, but that.
Well, you could have got paid, maybe.
I could have got.
Yeah. Depends on what you consider payment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Maybe I could. Maybe I could make a lot of money. but
Yeah.
our experience was very different, and the characters we met are very different. But it was also
Well, I
an
met a lot of
experience. It was definitely an experience, right? I wouldn't turn it down.
Yeah.
So,
Ron, what was your? I heard you mention about Australia. You moved or stayed in Australia? What was the point, or what was happening there?
When I was 19, I just went on an adventure. I got a 1-year working visa for Australia because I always kind of wanted to go there. I remember when I was a kid, we had National Geographic. I grew up reading National Geographic, and I remember one episode, one issue of National Geographic was like all Australia. And I
you
remember
just saw the
reading
tribes
it
with the girls with no tops on, and you're like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it was I just remember wanting to go there for some reason. I don't even know why. And so I got a work visa, and I just sold my truck and left. And
At
I
19.
wound up spending. Yeah. I just had a hockey bag with a blender and a George Foreman grill, and I just took my gym clothes and my baggies and my tank tops and my lifting belt, and I just and my Discman with my CDs, and just took off. And
train with Lee Priest.
yeah, that sort of thing. And just wound up getting lucky, meeting a bunch of great guys that landed on the Gold Coast and spent time there, and met a bunch of great bodybuilders right off the bat.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding is easy to find. It's not hard to find guys like us. I know exactly where we're going to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember checking into the backpackers. I was only 19, and I asked the guy, there's an old crusty veteran backpacker owner. He's seen a million people from all around the world stay at his place, right? And I say to him, I go, hey, where's the nearest gym? And he looks me up and down. I'll never forget. He looked at me, he totally sussed me out. He looked me up and down in 1 second, and he goes, you're going to want to train at Archer's. You're not going to want to go anywhere else. And I was like, oh, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. So he sent me to like the real gym, and he goes, yeah, a guy like you. He looked at what I was wearing and stuff. He's like, you want to go down there? And he told me where to go. Yeah. The first day I was there, I walked into the gym, paid for a drop in. Right off the bat, I'm like, oh, this is where all of the bodybuilders from this entire area live, right here. I'm in the middle of it. Lucky me. Amazing. And they were just all there. He's like, that's the state champ. That's the state middleweight champ. That's the overall national champ from last year. That's the guy that's going to win this year. That's like, he was just, I remember the first day I was at that gym. I was like, oh, here I am. Found the gym.
Wonderful.
Wow.
So it was just crazy, and I still talk to some of those guys today. I still have relationships with like a few guys from that period, that gym. So we're not hard to find. And once we find each other, we tend to stick together, especially back then,
Yeah.
Like I had bottles of test like 3 days after I got to Australia.
Yeah. That's always kind of like a bit of a concern when moving to a new area.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
there's points where when I left. What's that?
I heard Australia is really strict with that stuff too, isn't it?
Well, they got way worse when the Sydney Olympics came in 2000. That changed everything. In the 90s, they had pretty loose laws, actually. They were getting all their shit from the vets, and there was no big deal. And then when they got the Sydney Olympics, they did this big clamp down just to make it appear like a big deal, right? And they started arresting people. And then now it's terrible. It's a terrible, terrible country to live in for steroids.
Yeah,
terrible and like hard
to
get.
Hard to get and real penalties. They're everywhere.
Yeah. No, just like I think they still have real penalties. Guys get in big trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the States too. In the States, it's pretty rough compared to Canada. Anyways.
Yeah, Canada's gotten possession for personal use isn't illegal here. No. So because of that, and because of just everything else, like the fentanyl crisis and like the economy and crime and everything, like I don't think anyone cares. Like, nobody gives a shit about steroids in Canada. Like I haven't heard of anyone getting in trouble for like I don't even know.
No.
Like years. Like I haven't heard of a single. It would blow me away if someone told me they got charged and had any sort of real penalty for like, anything.
Yeah.
So
it's been a long time. The last we have a guy here in Halifax that's pretty damn famous. That he was probably the last person I know that got in trouble.
Yeah. That was years ago. That involved the border though, didn't it?
Yeah, there was it was quite
Yeah.
a large sum of
Yeah. I mean,
involved.
hey,
But
there's dabbling and
There's
there's not dabbling.
And then there's packages.
yeah.
Well, hey,
Protein.
listen, it comes down to the general rule. Al Capone didn't go
Right.
to jail for murder. He went to jail for tax evasion. When they don't get their money, that's when they give a fuck.
That's when they get mad.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't give a
Exactly.
shit about any of the other stuff, but they got Al Capone on taxes. And that's just the general rule of how it all works. So,
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Awesome. On that note, I think, yeah, man, it was great. You guys have anything else?
No,
I met you up in.
Say thanks,
sorry,
Ron.
go ahead.
Thanks for coming on. No, I was just saying thanks for coming on the show. It was awesome, man.
Yeah, appreciate
man,
it.
I love a good conversation, and I do know that I was real fortunate to have some really cool experiences, and to share some of those stories is always fun. And if it helps anybody just enjoy their bodybuilding experience or get a little bit more out of the lifestyle, because I do genuinely believe that there's an incredible amount of positive spin to the whole bodybuilding lifestyle, and I just want to contribute as much of that as I can,
Yeah.
make it better if that's possible.
It's kind of what we're all trying here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I seen you up in the Toronto Pro, and I seen you were talking to one of my buddies, David Knowledger. I think you called him.
Oh,
Quadzilla.
wow. Yeah.
So I walked over. It was my chance to walk over and say hello. And anyway, so I did meet you up there, though. I think it was the first time I actually met you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's all I remember was backstage. David, I was with clients, right? And my brain's all
Yes.
scattered. And David just grabs me and he goes, he's one of those guys. He just grabs me and goes, "You remember me?"
Yeah.
And like, of
you were
course,
kind of like,
you're on the
yeah,
spot,
man.
right? I look at him
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, I mean, his face does look familiar, but I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, "David." And I was like, "Oh, no way. You're the guy with the quads. I remember you."
yeah.
You were like,
Yeah.
you won I remember his physique. I remember his posing. I remember him placing well in 07 at the Nationals. I remember him doing great in 06 at Nationals. I remember all that. As soon as he said his name, I was like, absolutely. I remember everything.
Yeah.
Cool.
I remember all those guys, might not recognize them 10 years, 15 years later out of the blue, but I remember everyone I ever competed against. Yeah.
Yeah.
And David was a great bodybuilder, man. He had an awesome physique,
Yeah.
So
that was my
we did
chance
run into him.
of kind of meeting you there. He told you about me tearing my bicep. I was supposed to do the Toronto Pro, and I tore
There
my
you
bicep.
go. Yeah. Okay. That's good to put that together. So much chaos
where-
at those shows.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just seen my opportunity to say hello, and I took it. I took it.
Oh,
good.
cool. I
See,
appreciate that. Yeah.
It was great to meet you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. No, that's cool. I was glad
I
to
got a
run into
question for
Dave.
you, Ron.
Yeah.
Are you going to Canadian Nationals this year in like 10 weeks?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So my training partner is doing the show. So we've got the flights booked and the Airbnb booked, and we've got the dates on the calendar, and it's D-Day for him. So he did extremely well last year.
Is he classic? Is he classic physique?
Classic D. He got third place in a very tough class. He could have easily placed higher. It was really, really tight. And we had some very positive feedback from the judges, really, really motivating stuff. So we're going back this year to, try to win that. So that's the goal. He's put on some muscle, and I don't know if you guys ever see my training partner on my Instagram, but he's come a long way. His name's Braden, but you can follow him at B Palm Tree. But yeah, we're excited, and then now since then, there's been a couple more clients of mine that have hopped in because maybe they did the van show, but they're going to go on to Toronto or whatever. So now it looks like I've got 4 people in the show, and they're all spread out nice. So they're not like all bodybuilders. It's you know what I mean.
Yeah,
It's kind of a bit of an array, so it'll be a fun weekend. So I'll be there for sure. So I don't know if you guys are going to all be there, or whatever, but come up and say hi.
We'll be. Me and Josh will be. Josh is competing in it, right? So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm going up too. So me and Josh will be there. I don't know.
Bring the shredded glutes, Josh.
I know, buddy. They're almost already in.
They're already there.
Straight right now, man. They're already straight right now.
They're almost. Yeah, I'm sure they're almost.
That's why you're eating 6 cups of rice.
I didn't even mean to. It just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ron, you have a big client base. You have quite a few clients, or is it more like just online clients? Or
Yeah, I stay steady. I try not to get too many people. Not really for like a management reason, but I have other things. Like I don't really consider myself a full-time coach because I've got the gym and I've got some other stuff that I do. So I try to take like I guess a high part-time amount of almost full-time amount, I guess, is what I wind up running most of the time. But yeah, mainly competitors. I have some like, kind of eternally off-season guys that are going to compete when they're ready, but they're just trying to grow as much as possible. And, I don't try to get a bunch of clients. Like I don't, I'm not trying to rack up. Like I know people have like those, 200 clients and stuff like that, but I don't really know how I would even manage any of that. So it seems to work out good. I get a lot of referrals and I get a lot of friends of friends and I get a lot of like return, I've helped some people like 10 years in a row. So it's, those are really fun because you really get to know like their bodies and them. And it just, you really work together well. And, it changes the game. So.
Yeah,
cool.
That's all. So that kind of a great segue into something I was really interested in bringing you on, Ron, and Jaws and Alex. If you'd be interested in doing like a client-based little get-together for an episode.
I mean, I'm always open to
pretty cool.
Any of that stuff. I mean, those guys. I mean, if I can say one thing. I guess this would be a good place to say it. I always want to make sure like those guys deserve the credit. Like I've written some stuff and I've said some stuff. Like I'm not comfortable with this like Team Ron idea. Like I don't ever espouse that. I never say that. That's fine for other guys to run their businesses that way, but I've just never been comfortable with it. I always feel like I'm on their team. I'm helping them make decisions, that sort of thing. So, like a guy like Alex, I mean, he's a great bodybuilder. He knows what he's doing. A guy like Jaws, I mean, what a mindset on a guy like that. Like you guys, make sure you have him on. He'd be great because his mindset is just incredible. Like he sent me after he won the show there and got his Olympia qualification. He sent me the picture of him in Bumstead from back when Bumstead was second place at the O. And he met Chris and he told him, I'm going to see you on stage one day.
Oh, nice.
And like this year he's going to be there. Yeah. And like that mindset is the reason why Jaws is going to the Olympia. You know what I mean? It's not like I came along and like transformed him magically and now we're going to the O. It's like, I'm lucky to be working with Jaws. Like there's a lot of coaches that could help a guy like that. The fucking robot. Like I just think sometimes I think coaches pat themselves on the back a little too much and it irritates me a little. It irritates me. I don't mean to sound grumpy, but I just think come on. Like I don't know. That's my outlook.
I like it.
A monkey could train some people, right? With the genetics.
Well, Chris Aceto's joke there, one of his best quotes ever. It takes 9 minutes a day to coach these guys. No, but you know what I mean? Like there's some bodybuilders out there, they've worked with 10 coaches. They've looked great with all 10 of them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. They bounced around a lot. They wanted to try a bunch of different things. Like, I know guys that worked with Chad, look great. Worked with Chris, work great. Worked with George Farah, look great. And then there's other guys too. They just don't work well with one coach. Like, do you think Neil Hill is a good coach?
Like, yeah.
That's a bit of a rhetorical question, but of course he's a good coach. He's helped like how many people have won shows working with Neil from the regional level up to Flex Lewis winning 7 Olympias. Mm-hmm. But Neil Hill, Branch hired him one time and it was a disaster. It was his worst place ever at the O. And he went back to George Farah. And the very next year he was back to being Branch again. Just didn't work out.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's just, but then Neil has, the next 10 pros Neil worked with were awesome. So there's a formula of people with other people and communication styles with other communication styles. And then of course, actual dieting techniques. I mean, maybe certain water things don't work well with other guys. I don't know, but I'm just, what my point is that some of these guys are great with certain coaches and not with others. Some of these guys are great with all these coaches, you know? So sometimes I think the coach takes a little too much credit when things go well. And
yes, I can see that in definitely in the amateur leagues when you're coming up and people are trying to get the coaches trying to get their name out there, right? They usually, that will be a little bit of a, you can see that coming up in a little bit of an issue.
I think that maybe that's the problem. Like, I think instead of focusing on getting your name out there, just focus on trying to help people do better.
Then their name will follow afterwards.
And then it and that's I remember John Meadows telling me some stuff. We had a lot of conversations about coaching because we were both older guys that got our pro cards late. And we sort of both I looked up to John a lot as like a guy who was able to put his knowledge out there, like he did he was the first guy to do a YouTube channel with like every single exercise cataloged.
So cool.
So I remember when John did that, he started cataloging all those exercises. And I remember he's like, now when I send someone a program, I can just put the link for that exercise and then I don't have to explain it to them.
It's like,
and I was like, he was just ahead of the curve. Like, of course, that's a great idea.
That's amazing.
Like that was him doing that first, right? Like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And just finding ways to give good knowledge and all that sort of thing. And so John also talked a lot about playing the long game. I remember him saying stuff like, don't worry about any of what these guys are doing because it's over the years and over time, the long game is going to be where the value is. I remember him saying that, and obviously it worked really well for him. He always had a great reputation of just trying to do the right thing at least, so that's good. And not every client's going to work out. Not every client's going to be a great client for you. Not everybody's going to win a championship. But if you just, do the best you can with every person, a lot of great stuff can happen. And, there's nothing like winning a pro card, helping someone win a pro card or an overall at a local show. Like
even that is someone's Olympiad. It's sometimes.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I've helped pros and I've helped regional people. And, I think a lot of coaches think that helping pros is the goal. Like they want to work up to where the pros are calling them, but not necessarily any more rewarding than helping regional guys win their first overall, or someone who's been third in the heavyweights twice winning their first heavyweight class, or some girl that bombed in figure last year because she had a terrible diet. And then you take her and you help her and she wins her friggin' class. And like that stuff can be way more rewarding because, when you start working with the pros, there's all this pressure. There's all this a lot of these guys also too, by the time you get to the pro level, you've done so many different things that sometimes they don't listen as well.
Makes sense.
I don't know. I did this last year. It worked good. Like that sort of thing. A lot of times I think some pros, they don't actually listen to their coach. Some of them, they just use their coach for eyeballs. Like, oh, my coach says I'm getting lean fast enough, so I'm going to keep cheating on my diet like I have been because my weight's coming down. So he's okay with that. He doesn't need to know. Like there's a bit of that. Like, it's kind of funny how it works. And sometimes the regional people are 100% invested.
Right.
And
usually
they'll do
are
exactly what you tell them.
And then so grateful for it by the time it's over too.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we all know what it's like to be, how do I put this? I think one of the giant misconceptions that a lot of bodybuilders have now, because of, I think, just what we've been sold online and how everyone's supposed to look, is we think that there's one look that you're striving for your show, and that is the only look that's acceptable. But in reality, there's like 3 or 4 or maybe 5 different looks that'll be great. And it's like, you're not really trying to capture a split second of when you look your absolute most vascular and absolute peaked in every possible way, because that's not extremely realistic. You're trying to capture like a 3-hour window of looking really great. and you're hoping that the show runs on time and you could
It's
walk
like,
on stage in that 3-hour window of looking real great. Like you've looked great every morning for 2 weeks. You're just going to get on stage looking great today. And I think some guys put so much pressure on themselves that they can't appreciate, like, you know, like Aceto said he's won a lot of pro shows with guys that were 96%. Or 92%. Like Chris is like, man, we did a lot of shows where we thought Jay was 93%. He won the show, you know, but he doesn't go home and complain about his look. He's like, oh, got the win, you know? So I think sometimes people can be really hard on themselves. They'll go to a show and get third and they'll be like, oh, I was fuller at night.
You're like, God.
Like, yeah, you looked awesome in the morning. You got third out of 22 guys.
Right. Yeah. Like, come on, man.
And the other 2 guys would have beat you anyways.
It's like,
You know what I mean? Like when the other 2 guys
Yeah.
would have beat you anyways, it doesn't matter. Like just you take the great placing, take the good look, take the awesome pictures. Like you got to find the positives in it and beat yourself up about every little thing. So, you know, it's a tough game. There's a bunch of variables that aren't necessarily controllable. That's the bottom line, that people think everything's controllable.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not really. We're trying our best, but there's a bunch of other stuff that goes on.
There's so much.
So, yeah.
Right. Awesome, Ron. Well, thank you very much for coming on to Bodybuilders Amateur Hour. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I had fun, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
We really
thanks,
appreciate it. Appreciate your time and the stories. And
Yeah, it's all good,
Hopefully-
man.
yeah, man. We'll hopefully
Like I
have
said,
you back
Make
on
sure
with the other
you
guys.
send me the reel or whatever you guys
Oh, yeah.
repost, and I'll make
We'll
sure
do all that
put it
stuff.
out, push it out, and all that. So
Oh, awesome.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
We'll
Thanks,
see you.
guys.
We'll see you in Toronto soon.
Yes, buddy.
Yes.
We'll see you there in 10 weeks.
okay, good luck.
All right.
Diet hard.
Ah, yeah. Thanks, man. See ya.
Thanks, Ron.
All right.
Okay, cheers.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks for your time, Ron.